Thank you for being here. I'm Attorney General Kris Mayes. Donald Trump has spent more than a year trying to impose global tariffs entirely on his own. And every time he's been challenged in court, he's lost. And we all know that a tariff is just a tax on Arizonans' grocery bills, a tax on the everyday operations of small businesses across our state, a tax that the president has unlawfully slapped on Americans. In doing so repeatedly, the president has demonstrated zero respect for the rule of law. My office, together with Oregon, has led the fight against the president's unlawful tariffs to protect our constituents and to uphold the rule of law. Every court, including the United States Supreme Court, has agreed that the president does not have the authority to unilaterally impose tariffs. The Constitution gives the power to tax to Congress, not the executive branch. First, the president claimed that emergency powers under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act allowed him to impose tariffs on virtually every nation, and even islands inhabited only by penguins. He lost that claim at the Supreme Court earlier this year, but the administration didn't stop. The administration then tried using Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974, a law never intended to support worldwide tariffs. The Court of International Trade struck that down too. But instead of following the law, the administration has now turned to a third statute, Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, in yet another effort to force through unlawful tariffs. That is why today we are announcing a new lawsuit to stop yet another round of unlawful tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. These tariffs, covering countries responsible for over 99% of all U.S. imports, again amount to an illegal tax on American consumers, workers, and businesses. And once again, my office is stepping forward to protect Arizonans. Like IEEPA and Section 122, Section 301 was never meant to be a vehicle for blanket tariffs on nearly every trading partner that we have. Section 301 requires real investigations, real consultations with foreign governments, and targeted solutions aimed at eliminating specific unfair trade practices. But that is not what happened here. The administration rushed a pretextual investigation into more than 80 countries in just 2.5 months, lumped dozens of economies into only a handful of arbitrary tariff categories, and produced no meaningful evidence linking these particular tariff levels to forced labor, the very rationale that they claimed justified this action. In fact, the record shows that these tariffs are not tailored to forced labor at all. Entire categories of goods known to involve forced labor are completely exempted by these tariffs. And countless goods with no connection to forced labor are included. Even countries that already have agreements with the United States to combat forced labor are being hit with the same rates. The administration ignored thousands of comments and testimony demonstrating that these tariffs won't address forced labor and will, in many cases, make the problem worse by disrupting cooperation and diverting resources away from actual reforms. What President Trump's new tariffs will do, and what they have already done, is raise prices, higher grocery bills, more expensive equipment purchased by states and small businesses, disruption across supply chains that Americans rely on every single day. When costs rise because of illegal tariffs, families and businesses pay the price, and our states feel those impacts directly. I have heard from small businesses and small business owners and consumers across Arizona that the tariffs and the chaotic nature in which they have been administrated has had a terrible impact on their ability to stay competitive and to serve their customers. Every Arizonan has paid more at the grocery store because Donald Trump refuses to follow the law. And I just want to say, I have spoken to so many small businesses who have said to me, they'll say, Attorney General, we have had to pay an enormous amount for goods that are inputs to our business. The price of tomatoes, for instance, for a Mexican food restaurant. I had one Mexican food restaurant owner tell me that she is having to ration the amount of salsa and tomatoes that she includes with her food. I had another small business restaurant owner tell me that the increased price of vegetables and the increased price of the packaging that restaurants have to buy, like forks and to-go containers, is eating into her profit, and she doesn't know when she's going to have to include that in the price to her customers. So this is having a huge impact on our economy and a huge impact on small businesses, and quite frankly, it's time for us to get pissed off. This is the third time that Washington, D.C. and this president has imposed illegal tariffs on our state's small businesses and our state's consumers, and that is wrong. And it's time for us to get angry. So this lawsuit makes three things clear. First, the administration's actions are untethered to any lawful authority. Second, the tariffs are not a reasonable attempt to achieve any of the goals the administration tries to tie them to. And third, these tariffs exceed the limits that Congress placed on Section 301. My office and our coalition of attorneys general are fully committed to defending the rule of law and protecting our residents from unlawful economic harm. We are asking the Court of International Trade to block these tariffs, to declare them unlawful, and prevent the administration from continuing this pattern of overreach. We have defeated this tariff scheme twice already, and we will do it a third time. Our states will not stand by while the administration tries for a third time to impose global taxes on Americans and Arizonans without legal authority. We will continue to fight to protect consumers and to safeguard our economies and to uphold the rule of law in America. And thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions that you have on this matter or anything else. Howard. Start with this matter. Oh, and I also have with me Josh Bender, my Solicitor General, who I want to commend for working so hard on this lawsuit, which is being co-led by Arizona, Oregon, and California. And how many other states signed on, Josh? Do we have that number?
25 states.
25 total states, including, that means one governor, 2 governors.
You said earlier that these tariffs, there's no proof that these countries are using forced labor. Does that mean that you're saying the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative's investigations are incorrectly drawing conclusions?
Yeah, and I think when you read the complaint, it lays bare just how flimsy the trade representative's proof is. You know, they actually exempted the tariffs from some goods that where it has been proven that forced labor is a problem. That would be coffee, cobalt, and I think frozen beef, if I'm not mistaken. And and then they failed to impose them on some other areas where we know there is a problem. So, yeah, and then it's just obvious from some of the statements that have been made by people like Scott Bessent, the trade representative Greer, Howard Lutnick, that this was all a pretext. They made it clear that the moment that the Section 122 tariffs ran out, they were going to pivot to Section 301. And in fact, I think it's might be page 8, no, page 4 of the complaint. Ambassador Green, I'm reading now, Ambassador Green announced an accelerated plan to, quote, ensure continuity by using Section 301 to achieve exactly the same tariff outcomes, and the USTR timed and structured its investigation and tariff action to replace the expiring Section 122 tariffs without interruption. So they had a plan, which was, they probably knew that the Supreme Court was going to strike down the IEEPA tariffs, which are illegal. They then knew that the Court of International Trade had struck down Section 122 tariffs, and they wanted to be ready with their next answer for reimposing these tariff taxes on the people of America, and they decided to go with Section 301. So we're asking a judge to declare that unlawful, to enjoin that, and we'll be seeking aggressively to stop these tariffs in the Court of International Trade.
Is there another avenue under the law that the Trump administration can impose tariffs if this one doesn't work? Are we going to be here for
Another section.
press conference?
You know, if it's funny, I when I was getting ready yesterday for this press conference, I thought you might ask that question, and I'm glad Josh is here because I couldn't think of one, but you know, they're obviously creative, and they are hell bent on imposing these tariff taxes on the people of Arizona. So, you know, perhaps they'll try something new. Josh, I don't know if you have thoughts on that, but we will be ready the next time that they try to impose illegal tariffs on the people of Arizona. They keep trying to do it. We will keep stopping them in federal court. Josh?
You got some new sections you'd like to quote? Oh, I was just going to say, I don't think we want to give them free legal advice on how to try to do this this again illegally. No, I mean, I don't recall anything else that's been bandied about, but I don't think that there's anything in the United States Code that gives them the discretion to do the kind of sweeping tariff they want to do, and so that's why they keep searching for other things. So, I don't know, can they find something else as a fig leaf? Maybe. Won't stand up in court.
Yeah, and to Josh's point, I think it's just so important to remember, this is Congress's prerogative. You know, and, you know, Congress has the taxing authority. Congress has never said that the president could use IEEPA to tariff the American people. They never intended Section 122 to be used in this way, and there's no evidence that they intended Section 301 to be used in this way as well. And, unfortunately, right now, Congress is not standing up for its own prerogatives, and so the state AGs are having to do that. Howard,
Can we move beyond?
have we exhausted questions on the tariffs?
I think you've beaten us all into,
Okay.
into a stupor here.
Oh, okay.
What's the total number of lawsuits that you have against the federal government now, and what the cost is?
And the over and under.
Well, the cost is zero because we have returned well more than $1.5 billion to the state of Arizona. I think it's probably closer to $2 billion at this point. But if you were really, because that $1.5 billion was calculated many, many months ago. We are at, I believe we're at 48 right now.
Little notches on your desk.
No notches, no notches. And
lawsuits, that's returned nearly $2 billion.
correct, yeah. I mean, and if you count the money, if you net out the funding that we utilize through our Solicitor General's office and our amazing attorneys in SGO, I mean, obviously we are saving the state of Arizona a great deal more than we're having to spend fighting these unconstitutional and unlawful actions by the president. And when I talk to small businesses that are laboring under the impact of these tariffs, they tell me, Kris, please keep fighting for us, because many of them are on the verge of bankruptcy. And that's why I'm here in front of you announcing this third lawsuit against the tariffs, because this is existential for small businesses in Arizona. Many are on the verge of having to close their doors because the President of the United States won't stop tariffing goods illegally. It's just that simple. And it is crushing to me to see these small businesses, many of whom have been around for decades and have been in families for decades, having to make very, very painful decisions because we have a president that doesn't understand or respect the law. Yes, Howard.
Your attorneys were in federal court a week or so ago to defend or to block the Florence Immigrant Rights Project from trying to get a TRO on Prop 314. Now, I do understand the issues were standing and rightness, but do you honestly believe that what's in Prop 314 survives legal challenge given the precedent set in Arizona versus United States? I mean, do you believe that the underlying law is legal or constitutional?
Well, what I would say is first, we haven't gotten there yet. And, it is my job as the Attorney General, when I think there is a good faith argument to be made and a constitutional and lawful argument to be made, to defend the will of the voters. The voters passed this initiative. As you know, I was, not a fan of it. I thought it was an unfunded mandate. Arizona sheriffs shared my view of it. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, David Rhodes stood at a press conference down at the legislature and called it an unfunded mandate. But that is different from the legal question. Right now, obviously, we've made the arguments understanding, and we'll see down the road where we're at with that. But Josh, do you want to add to that, or?
No, he doesn't.
No.
No, he doesn't. No, but seriously,
Well-
I appreciate you required, this was a narrow issue of can we get into court?
Yeah.
Obviously, at some point, there's going to be somebody who, A, has standing, and whether that's somebody who's arrested, or B, which goes to the right, same thing goes to the rightness issue. You've clearly studied what's in 314 in
Yeah.
terms of letting state and local police say, we've observed or have what constitutional indicia of this person's cross the border illegally, let them arrest them on a Class 1 misdemeanor, take them to a judge, who then can say, you can fight the Class 1 misdemeanor, or we can have you deported. Do you believe that this is within the power of the state of Arizona? Again, look at the Senate Bill 1070 decision came out of the Supreme Court.
You know, again, that's going to be up to a judge to decide. The people of Arizona passed this initiative, and I think there are arguments that are going to be made on both sides of this issue, and I don't think there's harm in allowing a court or having a court make this decision. I also think that it's important to note that there haven't been any such arrests by Arizona law enforcement. Well, I want to also say that it's important to keep our focus from a policy standpoint. I will say it's important to keep our focus on tackling and going after the Mexican drug cartels as they are bringing fentanyl across the border. That's where our focus should be and has been in the past. And I think that's where actually, if given a choice, the vast majority of Arizonans would want us to remain focused.
Okay, but one more thing, because you have had cases where you have not defended what voters have approved.
Right, well, not very many.
There are a
Like,
couple of
I can
things
think
in
of
terms of
one.
But again, you went to law school, I play an attorney. But the fact.
I'm beginning to think you did, though, Howard, and you've never told us.
Yeah, well, we'll talk over beers.
Okay.
But seriously, I mean, you've studied what's in 314. You came out against it. Do you believe it is
I came out against it from a policy angle, and I came out against it after talking to sheriffs and local law enforcement who told me, Kris, we don't have the funding to do this. And I also opposed it because I think it takes our eye off the ball of fighting the Mexican drug cartels. That is where the state's effort should be. That is where my office has been. I have seized more fentanyl than any other attorney general in the history of Arizona, 27 million pills. We work in tandem with the FBI, the DEA, sometimes even HSI, to target drug smugglers and human smuggling. And I think that's where our focus should be. So, and I think the sheriffs share that view, even if sometimes they're not as vocal about it. They were vocal actually initially about the fact that it was an unfunded mandate. Okay. Yes.
Just to follow up on
So-
that,
Yeah.
just to clarify, you're saying there's only been a couple of cases that you did not defend state laws?
One that I can think of.
Okay. So, there's a candidate that said it's 30.
Yeah, I don't know where he's coming up with. I saw that and I was like, what the hell is he talking about?
There's one.
One that I can think of, Josh. Oh, there was an abortion, maybe the 2 abortion cases.
And wasn't there something in terms of sex discrimination also? I think there's more than 1 or 2 out there.
No, we'll look at it and
Okay,
we'll beg to differ on that. And it may depend on sort of what are you talking about in terms of, what the office did. But yeah, there were a couple of abortion related cases. Yeah. Dennis?
I want to get back to an ongoing legal drama between you and our governor. Obviously, you've been investigating her for quite a while. You've asked for her to come in and sit for an interview. That hasn't happened for months, so I've got questions kind of in 2 parts. Why have you let the governor just essentially blow you off on this? And can anybody blow off the Attorney General of Arizona if they want to talk?
The answer is no. You cannot blow off the Attorney General's office. So, full stop, no one can. regardless of who they are. Well, I would disagree with that characterization, and though I can't discuss details, what I would say is we are going to get the information that we need, and though I don't have any specific updates on the case, we when we have a result in this investigation, we will make an announcement, and we are near the end of the investigation.
Follow up to that though, should we expect to see something before the November election?
Yes.
Okay. Are you prepared to issue something without talking to the governor?
Again, I'm not going to talk about the specifics of the investigation.
In complicating the matters, there's some politics to this too, because, I mean, there's a significant amount of money, the Democratic Party, being run out of Navajo County, that is controlled, my understanding is by the Hobbs administration. Are you concerned that something like this could cost you funds in your reelection?
Well, your characterization of that is incorrect. And
But the fact is that
well, for
it's a
two things.
joint campaign with you and her and others.
Well, yeah, you misunderstand the mechanics of it, but I don't talk about the campaign in this office. I know you guys want to talk about the campaign. We can talk about that outside where it's 115 degrees, or you can call DJ and Delaney. But so I don't want to mix the office and the sanctity of this building with campaign-related questions.
So you can't say for sure if,
And I would remind you guys that there is another investigation. Okay.
But you happen to be the one holding a press conference today.
Yeah.
Rachel holds them on Wednesday.
Okay. Yeah. And so
I think that's actually all the time we have.
Well, we'll do one more.
Governor Hobbs being, asked to sit down for an interview before the election.
what's that?
Well,
Right.
I guess, I had a similar question to what Cameron did, but I'm just,
Yeah.
but you said that something will happen before the election.
Yeah.
Will Governor Hobbs sit down for an interview with you before the election?
Again, what I will say is I feel confident that we're going to get the information that we need to conclude the investigation.
That's not an answer to the
Dennis.
question. That's not an answer to the
Howard,
question.
Is there a
Howard.
chance,
I appreciate. Okay.
is there a
Yes.
chance this gets wrapped up and the governor doesn't sit for question?
I'm going to decline to answer that question right now.
And I do think maybe,
But yes,
So I do have on another topic.
another topic. Yes.
Yes, we have been receiving information of cases, people receiving these threats, this sextortion, we can call it, with accusing them of being rapists and pedophiles and all of that through social media. Do you have any knowledge of that, and if you do, what is your recommendation?
So what I would say, if there are specific instances of sextortion that folks are aware of or are experiencing, we want them to report that to the Attorney General's office. Sextortion is a rising problem in this state and in this country. It's something that I intend to tackle and focus on in my second term. It's especially something that I think is beginning to impact teenage boys and girls, and it is a terrible, pernicious, awful crime. And my message to anyone who is attempting to engage in sextortion against another person, if you do it, we will come after you. We have an entire unit dedicated to dealing with internet sex crimes, and sextortion is one of them. So I'm glad you raised that issue. It's something that I think the media should focus in on more, but it's something that we need to tackle.
Just following up a little bit,
Mhm.
you mentioned about teenagers, but they're grown-up men
Yeah.
Just as I told you.
Sure.
We're trying to intimidate them with this narrative of
Yeah.
they're being rapists and whatever.
Yeah, and I believe that a decent amount of the sextortion is obviously coming from abroad, like romance scams. A lot of this is coming from individuals and criminals who are in other countries on other continents, and so it's very, very difficult to combat. One of the things that we will be doing at the AG's office is coming up with a set of recommendations for people for how to avoid being extorted. And a lot of those will be similar to how we advise people to avoid romance scams, but just be very, very careful about who you communicate with on the internet, who you give pictures to, what kinds of dating sites you go on, and understand that anything that you send to someone can be potentially used against you in ways that you may not even know. And so I think it's something that is going to require a lot of education. And I think one of the things we're going to be doing in our office is looking at heightened penalties, potentially at the state level, for not just sextortion, but also other crimes against children and others on the internet.
Do you know how they get their phone numbers?
You know, well, we haven't done a thorough investigation yet, but it's very easy for criminals to get cell phone numbers. That's part of the problem. And then they start phishing. It's just a pure phishing expedition by these criminals. And so they can go out through various websites and buy phone numbers, or even sometimes they don't even have to buy the cell phone numbers, unless you have gone to great lengths to get your cell phone number off of these websites. And then sometimes people willingly put their cell phone numbers out there on dating sites, which can be a problem.
So you willing to come outside and talk to us about copper state values? We're willing to go outside.
Why don't you call DJ on that one? Why don't you guys?
Call DJ. We want to talk to
You want to talk to
Attorney
me?
General,
Okay.
because it's a legal question.
I
Okay.
do think we do have to call it. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Thank you guys.